everyone, and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 28th of February to Friday the 4th of March 2022. Wow, what a week. What a build-up to next week as well. We have lots and lots to discuss. And not only that, this will be the last time I say it's being broadcast on a Friday, because from next week it's going to be aired Monday to Thursday. More on our schedule at the end of the podcast, so keep listening for that. But as usual, I cannot do this on my own. I cannot. I have to do it with someone. And it's time to change the calendar. It's Rob, everyone. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Alex. How are you this week? Are you well? Look at this. Right, okay, so as you remember, this didn't go well last year. And this, last month. And this is the part of the podcast that works really, really well.
Well, now.
No, but this is the part of the podcast that works amazingly for people that are just listening. But I have my calendar at the ready. We have gone from February to March, so it's time to change the dot. So we have gone from what we believe was Pauline's funeral, we decided, didn't we? To, I haven't even looked what it is yet, to... Ta-da! Oh, it's stripper time!
The calendar!
Oh,
yes, the calendar within the calendar! How meta!
Yes, how very meta. But look, we just, as if it was made to be, we have one final look at the gorgeous Cush. So Dot and Cush in the laundrette for the charity thing in, I believe, about 2015 for the 30th anniversary, wasn't it? They did this. So, there we go. So now I get to look at...
Get in touch with us if you can remember, guys.
Well, this was on sale for us for a short time, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Children in Need. It was for Children in Need. They actually had like a naked square calendar because they had Sonia wearing the love heart, didn't she? And they had Mick, I think, in the Vic with Linda. And they did it, as you said, quite rightly, for charity. Peter with his pickles, yes, at the fish and chip shop. Peter with his pickles. And they had the market inspector guy who was dating Ronnie, whose name I never remember.
Alex.
He was the,
I loved Alex.
Alex. Why can't I remember that name? My own name. Did you like Alex?
That's a new level for you. I loved Alex. With a K, though, not with an X. There was that brief moment in time where Roxy and Alex were together, and Ronnie and Charlie were together, and everything was happy. I really liked that little period for the Mitchell sisters. Do you remember that? Oh, it was that. Yeah, and then Ronnie decided to go sleep with Charlie while Ronnie was in a coma.
So yes, a highlight to anyone listening to the podcast, but if you do get the chance to watch the podcast on YouTube, you can actually see the reveal in person, where Rob reveals his calendar every month.
It's huge.
His dot cotton calendar.
It's a huge moment.
It's a big moment for us. January, you've got the reveal. Moment. February, the wall fell down, and so he couldn't keep the calendar hung up for longer than 5 seconds. This week, it went fine. But next month, I'm sure something exciting will happen again. There. But most of the drama was on the square this week, and there's lots and lots to talk about. As I said right at the beginning of the show, there is a build-up for the big grey week, a big week coming next week. And you were saying off the recording just now that this is Rob's first big week with Walford Weekly Podcast. It's the first time he's going to have to discuss something so huge with us. So, Rob, I want to know what your thoughts, your anticipation. Are you excited about after this week's?
I'm very excited.
Become more excited?
Yeah. I mean, I know that we have done nothing, and I repeat, nothing but moan about the Grey storyline for the past year. But it's all finally coming to a head, and you cannot take away from a big soap week. Okay, you cannot take away from when a long-running storyline reaches its nail-biting climax, which this looks to be. Okay, yes. It genuinely looks as though this is going to be a really good week. So I'm very much looking forward to it. We've got Simon Ashdown back next week to write the final climax episodes. So what could possibly go wrong, right? But no, I'm very, very excited, and it feels very strange to say that this is my first big week since I've joined the podcast over a year ago. We were saying the last big week was probably Boat Week. And that was ages ago, wasn't it? So we've been well overdue a big old week. So let's discuss the build-up, and then next week
is the one. I mean, it's, as you said, it's grey orientated, and up until this point we have been willing for it to end, but it looks like it's going to get a good ending. So Let's start off though with stories that aren't quite so related, and that is first of all Phil. Phil is in jail. He's been thrown into prison now. He would not grass. He would not grass. But now Phil is in prison. Tommy is getting bullied again because they've discovered that he's going to be in prison for life, so he doesn't have his protection anymore. And in frustration, he being upset perhaps that Phil is, his protector is no longer there. He's pushed Kat this week into some glass. Remnants of Denny and Sharon. So I thought it was lovely to introduce Sharon into the story as well. When Sharon saw the bandage on her hand, when Dennis whacked Sharon around the face. And but Kat's adamant she doesn't want any help, even though everyone around her seems to want, seems that she's under a lot of strain. I mean, who do you feel sorry for the most? Is it Tommy? Is it Kat? Do you feel bad for Phil that he's in prison and he can't do anything about any of this?
Phil's the one I had the most sympathy for in this entire storyline. Yeah, absolutely. I suppose Kat's really, isn't it? I mean, Kat's got it all coming out of left, right, and centre, hasn't she? This whole thing with Tommy, where is this becoming a thing? Because it's been a while since we've seen domestic violence on EastEnders. So is this starting to become a thing now? Is Tommy going to is this temper thing of Tommy's going to start again, or do you reckon this was just a bit of an outburst and Kat will get to the bottom of it shortly?
I think it was an outburst. I think it was just a short moment of frustration by him. Kat keeps asking him about the money because she also lost some money from wages, which we later discovered wasn't stole from Tommy. It was stole from Jean, with a story we'll discuss a little bit later. So Tommy, I think, felt like he was being judged by his mum. He also, as I say, being pressed upon by the bullies who now know that Phil isn't there to protect him anymore, so are constantly on his back. But he doesn't want to admit it to his mum. So I think Tommy, for me, Tommy is under the most strain because he's got all this pressure on his shoulders. Like, he's got the weight of the world, and he doesn't feel like he can share it with Kat, his mum. Whilst at the same time, Kat is desperately wants to share everything that she has built up with Phil, but Phil doesn't want to share it with her. Phil doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to hear anything that's going on. He just wants to know all the good stuff that's happening on the outside world because he's not interested at all. So, yeah, I think it's a moment of frustration by him. But it'd be nice, as I said, Sharon could get together with Kat because Sharon's been through all this before with Phil and her own son.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was quite a nice little parallel. I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but I'm quite up for the idea of sort of Sharon recognising the signs and sort of stepping in and almost becoming, looking after everybody whilst Phil is away. My question is, obviously Phil isn't going to prison for the rest of his life, so how is Phil going to get out of prison at this stage? What do you reckon the plan is?
I mean, there's a lot being thrown around about that Keegan really doesn't have a case on him and that she was pending all her bets on the fact that he would grass. She really did ramp it up, especially in the last week when she just turned up on his door and was like, hello, Mr. Mitchell. By the way, are you going to grass? No,
you're going
to considering it? Yes, no, I don't know. Yeah. You're right. Phil's never going to stay in prison for very long because that's just not the narrative of EastEnders. Phil cannot. And Steve McFadden will not leave the show for a long period of time unless it's for pantomime. So he will be back. And I just think it's a case that's just basically being held together by the thinnest of threads. But what is Phil coming back to? That's another thing. His world is crumbling around him, but he doesn't really know that just yet. It's an absolute mess. And he left it that way, to be fair. Like, his final words was, love your cat, look after the chicken shop. And then that was the end of it. So, can Phil, if he does come out of prison, can Phil build things back up again with Kat and make things better for her? Or is it just putting a plaster over a wound?
I mean, I think that's Phil's way, isn't it? Phil's never been one to actually fix anything. I think just putting a plaster over a gaping wound is probably more Phil's style. I'm curious as to how this is all going to play out. But, I mean, again, I say, as the same as I did last week, and he put in an even better performance than he did last week, Sonny Kendall as Tommy. We are massive fans of new Tommy on the podcast, as we know some of our viewers and listeners are. I tell you what, he is going to be the face of the show in a few years' time if he stays, and if the EastEnders stays. He is the definition of the next generation of EastEnders stars, isn't he? So I cannot wait to see more Tommy. Even if we're going down a little bit of an unlikable route with Tommy, if he keeps lashing out at Kat, that's just as a result of everything that's going through. But yeah, the kid casting is exciting. I like it when you can sort of see the new stars sort of emerging and they start getting their own little storylines. And this is the first kind of big storyline that a kid has had, probably since Bailey started, isn't it? So I am really looking forward to seeing it, because he is going toe to toe with Jesse Wallace in those scenes, wasn't he? Like Jesse Wallace is bloody marvellous and wins Best Actress awards and stuff. So we love him. We love him at the Coloured Cast. So I'm very excited to see how that all ends up.
We do. Absolutely. So yes, exciting for Tommy's story, because for me this is Tommy's story. I know there's the relationship between Kat and Phil, but I think Tommy's the fallout of all this, and just how he will be wounded from this, perhaps we'll see in the future. So, as we mentioned, Jean stole some money from Kat this week in order to pay for a holiday, because Harvey is having a bit of a hard time, because this week he had to sign a statement against his own son, Aaron, who phoned him from prison and said, "Please don't sign it, Dad. I don't think I can last much longer in here." Then, weirdly, you saw a shot of Harvey, and then the next shot was the phone swinging from the phone. So I don't quite know what happened to Aaron then. I felt a bit like, this is a bit of a mystery itself. That could be a week of itself. What happened to Aaron?
I had the subtitles on, because noise was happening in the living room when I was trying to watch it, and the subtitles reliably told me that it was sounds of violence. So something happens to Aaron. Sounds of violence. And he didn't look terrible. We've seen people get beaten up in EastEnders in prison before. The sounds of violence. Ow. Anyway. And we have seen people getting beaten up in EastEnders prisons before, and they've looked a lot worse than Aaron did. He had like a cut on his head, but nothing too he could have. I've done worse than that when I've been walking home drunk. But it seems that Aaron is apparently having difficulties in prison, and I don't think this is the last we're going to see of him. Even though Harvey has signed that statement, it feels like we've got more Aaron to come, which I'm quite excited about. Because we have both said that the Aaron story was one of the best stories that's come out of the show in the past past couple of years, mixed in with the fact that we love the Monroes. So I'm very excited to see that.
It was like, as you say, it was nice seeing Aaron in prison. I was surprised to see a scene with him, because I thought the actor had kind of bowed out a little bit, and a lot of people were adamant that was it. That was the end of the Aaron story. So as you say, it was nice to see him reintroduced, ready for the story to start again. The story did take a bit of a right turn because it then kind of swerved into the direction of Jean and Harvey's relationship, because obviously Dana's quite worried about Harvey because he's been drinking.
Yes.
To kind of like crown out the pain. He started to drink while he was driving. Jean was on the door going, "Hello, Harvey! You're not going to drive, are you?" And then pretended to be driving to the police officer while he decided to have a bad back, which I thought was brilliant. I did enjoy that scene between them.
Yeah, that was good. But there is a parallel world where Jean is an evil serial killer, and she just appears at windows with like this, with like this terrifying grin on her face, knocking on windows. "Hello, I'm back!" But I mean, the whole Jean and Harvey thing, I just loving. I just think they're such a cute little couple, and they work together really, really well. But there's something going on with Jean, isn't there? Because as you said, Jean took some money from Kat. So something's going on with her. Now, are we to believe that this is a bipolar thing going on? That she's gone a little bit more extreme. I remember when Stacey first was first diagnosed with bipolar, and we were sort of told the symptoms, and one of them was overspending, and one of them was doing like things that they wouldn't normally do, all sorts of other stuff like that, in extreme versions of their own personality. Clearly, I mean, I was theorising the other week that maybe it was Stacey we should be worried about rather than Jean, but it does seem that something is going on with Jean. I am not having Jean having another medical drama. I can't deal with it. Can we just leave Jean and let her live for a little while before we start parading her with more medical dramas? But what do you think? What's going on?
Well, I mean, the only thing I can think of, because they make a big point of saying that they do witness Jean taking the pills. And even Eve is kind of saying to Stacey, that she's doing the right thing. She obviously missed that appointment when she was having the counselling. I just wonder if she's not, because she hasn't had those counselling sessions, they're not diagnosing that there might be potentially something else that's kind of cropping up, and so she's not quite on the right medicines anymore, and that's the road we're taking. I mean, I'm with you a little bit on two factors. One, that I don't want her to end up smoking in a caravan again with Liddy hidden in a box like Wallace and Gromit kind of going, "You okay?"
Yeah.
I don't need that again in my life. That's nothing more. And two, I would love anyone. Remember a few months back, we said that there was a scene with Callum who was like opening a prison and it looked like a sitcom. And someone, I believe it was EastEnders cast, but please correct me if I'm wrong, nicely made the video for us and had like a laughter track to like Callum walking in and then people laughing and something else to an episode of EastEnders. If someone could make a parody of a horror movie with Jean just knocking on windows going, surprise! Or anything like that.
Yeah.
We will immediately post it on our Twitter. So please, at Walford Weekly, feel free to go ahead and do that for us.
Absolutely.
We certainly will. But Harvey asked Jean to kind of step back. They're going too fast for their relationship. When she supported him in his drinking, he then kind of embraced her in again. And she, as you said, she got really hyper about it and got very manic and excited about going away on holiday. And then Eve gave Harvey the talk to say, like, if you hurt Jean, my eyes are on you and I will come down on a ton of bricks because I love Jean and she's looked after me. She didn't do anything. Which I love Eve. I love Eve and her kind of moments with other cast members. The way she gets introduced is delightful for me. So, what's going to happen? Do you think there's going to be kind of scenes between Harvey and Stacey, and Eve, and they kind of discover that Jean is more and more manic, or do you think it's just going to be a personal thing between Stacey and Jean, and it's going to be again a family matter?
Well, I think it's worth remembering that for what we know of Harvey's history with his ex-wife, that she suffered from mental health problems as well. So you would think that Harvey would be able to spot the signs. We don't know exactly what went on with Mrs. Harvey, but we know that there were problems with her mental health. So presumably Harvey knows what he's doing with that sort of thing. So I'd be intrigued to see if Harvey notices anything. But I also think that it's worth noting that obviously, like we said, Harvey was drinking quite heavily this week. So this is a facet of Harvey's personality that we've not really seen before. That when the going gets tough, the vodka gets going. You know, he turns to drink when he's got stress. So is that something that we maybe need to keep an eye on for Harvey in the future? Because he lives in Walford, there'll be other times when he needs to turn to a bottle because he lives in Albert Square, and everybody has to drink in Albert Square. That's the go-to reaction. You know, something bad happens, reach for a bottle of vodka or a brandy or a beer. Shirley is the queen of alcoholism without being an actual alcoholic.
Yeah. Yes, she's the catalyst of all the alcoholism in EastEnders.
Yes, so mixing that in with whatever's going on with Jean is interesting.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. It's interesting that the fact that obviously Harvey needs support, which he's kind of getting from Dana. Jean needs support. So is this two people who really shouldn't be getting together right now because they're both in a real dark place, and perhaps they'd be better off separate before they then then need to build a relationship, which can be a completely different, manner in itself. So yes, that's interesting. That's interesting, and more of that to come. So it'd be interesting to see what they do between them. There's been a lot of love on the square this week. Lots of love blossoming on the square. And the very first, which isn't blossoming, it's been going for a long time, but it's always been one-sided, and that's Vinny's love for Dotty. But this week, it got discovered that Dotty had been using a Panesar rental without Suki's permission, because Rocky put his foot in it and told Suki to kind of sort it out because there's moths in her flat. Suki had that really lovely moment with Vinny this week where she said that she pushed Karat and she pushed Jags because she knew that they needed pushing. But with Vinny, he was always the one that she didn't need to push because he was like kind of the kinder one. So she didn't want to do that to him. And that it was lovely that she had to have a drink to say it as well, that she does love Vinny. So as an olive branch, she then said that Dotty could live with them in the Suki flat until Dotty finds her feet again. Now, this was the moment where I saw that Dotty, because she's been kind of let into Vinny's life, she saw lots of different facets of Vinny and the relationship with his mum and his family, that she started to kind of show an interest in him, finally, which I thought was quite good. I quite got excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think what it is, can we just say, we've been very positive this week, aren't we? We've loved this week, apparently.
I know.
We haven't had a bad word to say. Haven't had a bad word to say so far. This is lovely. I like it when we do this.
We are nice.
We are nice, and that's why this show is so addictive. I really, really enjoyed this week. I mean, we should first of all mention that amazing scene between Dotty and Suki when Dotty just let Suki have it with both barrels. I mean, that was great. I absolutely loved that. And that clearly affected Suki quite a lot because that was sort of the catalyst to her going and talking to Vinny. The Vinny and Suki relationship I thought was really interesting this week. I mean, Suki's one of those characters that, you know, I would have a week of just the Panasars and still want to know more. You know, I love them so much. Yeah. I think they're such a great family. And this was, I have to say, I was sort of reminded of Phil and Ben this week. You know, that sort of like, you know, son that can't do enough to try and make the parent proud, and the parent sort of, you know, clearly not interested, or clearly they're not doing enough. I mean, you know, maybe it's a bit of a common theme in EastEnders over the years, but I think that was really evident this week. And yeah, that moment where Suki kind of went in, had to down a brandy before she sort of apologised to Vinny and said, couldn't do it sober. She said, you know, I might have been a bit harsh, sorry about that. And then, come home, because I've got a surprise for you. And there is Dotty, who now apparently lives with the Panasars. Now then, what are we going to get from this? This wasn't a development I saw coming, I have to be honest. So what is going to be... Because obviously, I don't know when Kirat's going to be back. Kirat presumably is going to be back at some point, once all the grey stuff has sort of died down.
I reckon next week when the grey stuff is kicking off.
But how is... I mean, Suki and Dotty living together, that's going to be interesting. Because, you know, even this week, Vinny sort of was like, can't you not stay in my room? Suki was like, do not push your luck, sunshine. So presumably there's going to be a little bit of interplay with that. I still wonder how sort of sexually interested Dotty is in Vinny. Because as far as I'm aware, we've only ever seen them sleep together once, which was on the sofa. Wasn't it?
Yes,
when Dotty was in grieving mode.
When Vinny was in a lot of pain. This is it.
Yeah,
Vinny and Dotty seem to work best together when they're grieving, when they're both in pain in one way. And so they like to look after each other, I think. Grief sex, why not? It works.
It's the best.
So they kind of like looking after each other. So maybe Dotty does like Vinny because she feels like that really the shoe's on the other foot. Vinny feels like he's taking care of Dotty, but actually Dotty wants to take care of Vinny. But it reminds me, their relationship, Vinny and Dotty, of how Martin and Stacey first got together. And literally Martin ground Stacey down so much that Stacey was just like, you know what, let's just get together. let's just have a relationship method. And it ended up exactly. Vinny is using the Martin method. And in a funny way, I don't mind that though, because it then ended up with Stacey and Martin had a great relationship. They worked brilliantly together. They worked nice on screen, and so it was a relationship that we all shipped. And for me, Vinny and Dotty is probably the most natural. Nah, that's not the most natural. We'll get on to what my absolute favourite relationship is. Don't have to guess too far. It's Zack and Nancy, obviously. But I do love Vinny and Dotty's relationship, and I love the fact that Suki's kind of involved with it as well. It's like that's another thing. Suki actively wants to take a part of it. She's always been moved away from other relationships on the show, like Jags and Habiba. She didn't want anything to do with that. She threw the cake in the bin when she kind of gave that as a gesture, as a present by Habiba. You know, Stacey and Colette. She's starting actually Stacey and Colette's relationship now as well. She's kind of because she trusts Stacey with the care of him. So that's another thing. So I like that Suki's kind of slowly getting herself involved with them. So yes. It's a story. It's a love that I can't wait to see blossom, and I hope it does.
I know. I just love the Panasars. I just want more and more and more for them. And I do actually think, so just before we move on, I do think, like we said last week when we were sort of throwing around the theory that we might be introduced to Daddy Panasar before too long. I do think that Dotty moving in with the Panasars is gonna sort of be the catalyst for this, because Dotty knows something, and it seems that I have a feeling that Dotty is going to be the one to get that out of Suki. Because I think there is I know that there is a part of Dotty's bluntness that Suki absolutely admires. Otherwise, she would not be in that flat right now, would she? She'd be on the street, and Suki wouldn't have cared less. The fact that she stood up to Suki so dramatically is why she's in there, because she impressed Suki at that moment. So I think that she's going to be the one that gets this information out of Suki and give it to us that we are so craving for. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how this kind of plans out. It feels like, because I know that the Grey storyline is coming to a climax next week, but it sort of feels like in the background they're kind of setting up the next sort of chapters of all the other stories, which I quite enjoyed. So I'm very excited to see what kind of happens after Grey Week with all these different stories.
Right, yes, that's true, because they have to start building new things up. So yeah, lots of plans for them, hopefully. Daddy Panasar, if you can hear us, come on out. We'll get the light out so you can see.
Yes.
We are going to go to a break and have a word from our sponsor.
Support for Walford Weekly podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle, the Performance Package. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code WALFORD at manscaped.com. If my maths is correct, that's about 8 million balls.
Oh my god, Ben, this is so exciting. This whole kit is just luxury, isn't it? For your balls. Luxury for your balls, for down below.
Yeah, we've tested all products.
We have. I mean, I tested this immediately as soon as I saw a ball toner. I mean, who doesn't need a ball toner in their life? I certainly didn't know I did, and now I can't get enough of it.
So what do you get in the performance package? You get quite a few things. You obviously get the ball toner and the ball deodorant.
The ball deodorant.
A lovely bag as well.
And this nose trimmer. I mean, again, this... Ever since I've gotten older, and I don't like to say my age, although I tend to say it quite a lot when I'm on the podcast, hair seems to grow in places I didn't even realise hair could grow. So this is really helpful for sticking up my nose, sticking it in my ears.
And we've also got the weed whacker as well.
Now that is the beauty. It's 4.0, so this is the 4th generation of shaver for
and the
down
best
there.
thing about this is what I found when I've used it is the light.
Yes.
That's the best thing.
So you can do it in the dark, so no one will ever know that what you're up to.
How can our viewers get these?
Well, they can look for it on manscaped.com, where there's not only this performance package, which comes with all this that you can see in front of you, including this newspaper as well, which you can use as a bath mat, so if you want to shave dry.
Yep, trimmings.
For trimmings. But you can also use that in the shower, because it's waterproof too. But it's also not just for down below. I used it for my beard. I don't know if anyone noticed.
That's what I did too.
Yeah, go to manscaped.com, have a look at all the goods that they have, and that shipping is worldwide as well. So you can be in the UK, you can be in Canada, America, Australia. No matter where you are, you can get free shipping and 20% off as long as you use the code WALFORD at manscaped.com.
Yeah. So where was that again?
I believe it was manscaped.com.
And the discount code is?
WALFORD for 20% off and free shipping.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code WALFORD at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code WALFORD. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Hello and welcome back. So, as I said, we are going to talk about the love stories on the square now. There are 2 love stories blossoming. One was an existing one that kind of died out, but then is coming back again, and that is my favourite, Nancy and Zack. I just love them so much. They're just so cute. And then we had a new one with Mitch. Mitch driving Miss Rita this week, and Rita came back. It was in her horoscope,
Nice.
And she said, I need to go and ask this guy out for a date, and my horoscope told me to do it, and Mitch didn't pick up on the signs, but Keegan and Bailey did, and so they arranged a date as well. So we'll start with them. You said is a comedian, a famous comedian played Rita as well.
Lucy Porter just randomly walked into the laundrette and went on a date with Mitch. I love this because I know her from like she does a podcast about quizzing, which I sometimes listen to. So I know that I think it's called Fastest Finger First or Buzzer or something like that. But she is like a really well known, intelligent comedian, and like she does acting. So I was really surprised to sort of see her wander in. So I kind of hope that Rita's around to stay for a little bit, dating Miss Rita. I like Rita. She's got that sort of kind of zaniness about her that comedians do so well on the EastEnders characters, don't they? So I like this. I mean, it depends though, doesn't it? It depends what kind of Mitch, where they're going to go with Mitch, because My thinking is, with the upcoming madness that is happening, things are going to be discovered, hearts are going to be broken. So you kind of think that if Karen and Mitch were ever going to get back together, it's going to be next week after after everything comes out in the wash, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think Karen and Mitch have
Grief
had their
sex
chances
is a powerful
now.
thing, Alex.
I know, but like Bailey tried to get them together and didn't succeed. Bailey seems more keen now for Mitch just to fall in love. And Karen's got that delivery driver who comes in and out sporadically. She really is. And so, I mean, I think Mitch and Karen have had their chance. They're good as a friendship. They're good as, parents to Bailey and to Keegan. It's fine. But for me, I think Mitch does need to move on. And it'd be nice for Mitch, because, I mean, Mitch has been on the show now for like 3 years. And really, what has he done? What has Mitch really done, really? Other than kind of suspect Gray for crimes. No, he's not. He suspected Gray of the domestic abuse, but now is Gray's best friend. Like, he's like, so this is where Bailey gets her fickleness from. It's from her own father, Mitch. So if putting Mitch in a relationship with Rita is a story which is a new direction for him, then I'm on board with it. And I'd rather that should happen than have him maybe burden Karen, to be perfectly honest with you. But as you say quite rightly, Mitch isn't necessarily one of my favourite characters either. So we'll see with that. But a relationship I'm very excited about seeing them back together again. And they're so beautiful and they're so romantic and I just love them so much. Zack and Nancy. Zack wants to do that competition, like MasterChef kind of competition where he kind of rumbles to him. I completely forgot, by the way, he's a chef. Completely forgot until this week. Then he went back into the kitchen and started making haggis on spoons and stuff like that.
I bet you were all over that, weren't you?
Of course I was. Up in Scotland, that's all we eat. Haggis for breakfast, lunch and dinner. You can get vegetarian haggis, it's fine. Put it in a blender with some milk. Yum yum. Like Horlicks.
Hang on, what on earth is vegetarian haggis? Isn't it just literally kind of sheep stomachs or something? Or is that's what haggis is, isn't it? I mean, I've never
vegetarian
had it,
one,
because it sounds vile. But how can you, what is, like, you cannot get much more animal-based than eating an animal's stomach. So how the hell do you vegetarianise that? Or even veganise that? What's it made of?
They do. They haven't they? I don't know. I've never delved deep enough to find out what's in a vegetarian or vegan haggis, to be honest with you. But on a Burns night, Ben and I always have neeps and haggis. It's a delicious vegan treat. Honestly, it tastes really nice. Quite salty.
There you go.
If you ever come visit me, Rob, I will cook you one up. Because it's really delightful as well. Because then when you cooked it, you open it up and it all goes out. It's like a drug balloon. And then not that I know about things like this. And then when you open it, it goes out of it. It's lovely. It's really delicious. Really delicious. But we're entirely off track here because Zack and Nancy are back in love because Zack cooked Nancy her favourite meal from New Zealand. Which I think she put on her social media and that's how we found out about it. A New Zealand dish. That she just adores, and he made it almost perfectly, and that was it. To a woman's heart, that's all we needed to make. One bite of that, and she's anyone's. I love their relationship so much. To be fair, though, I love Nancy in every relationship. With her and Tamwa as well, I used to love their relationship. But I don't know, they just feel so genuine together. They feel like the new Mick and Linda. And for me, that's why I suspect...
That's a big statement.
I'm guessing that Nancy and Zack will be the new owners of the Queen Vic. Stamp. That's my prediction.
Wouldn't hate it. No. Would not hate it. We did have we had one of those moments this week where sort of actor injury had to sort of be written into the script, because I'm guessing, seeing as though we didn't see Nancy break her leg, which apparently happened in the gym, and all of a sudden we had Maddie Hill sort of on crutches. It's a very strange coincidence that Maddie breaks her leg the same week that she has to kiss James Farrow quite a lot, isn't it? Can't imagine what happened. I have no idea. Can't imagine what happened to her. I absolutely love... I didn't break Maddie Hill's leg. I'd just like to point it out for anybody who might have believed that, because it is possible. I am a Scorpio. I absolutely love Nancy and Zack, as you said. I think they are adorable to watch. There are some couples that you kind of think, oh, just get on with it. But honestly, I would watch them go on dates together. I would watch them just whisper sweet nothings to each other, because there is genuine, amazing chemistry between the two actors. and
Really
they're just great together. They're just great together. I love them. And it seems that Zack's soon going to have to step up, isn't he? Because grief has hit the Carters once again. It visits them at least once a month, but we've got it big style this time because DCI Arthur's pays a visit. Sam's beard had a shave since we last saw him a couple of weeks ago. He had a magnificent beard the last time we saw him, and now he's lost the beard. I thought it was a different character for a start. Yes.
The envy I had for his beard was remarkable. I loved that beard. And then he's still got the sideburns. He's still got the big bushy sideburns. So he obviously didn't want to get rid of everything
get that far.
there.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed when I saw he'd lost his beard. Because that was weeks of worth of growth, that was. That was a good effort by him.
Yeah, easily.
And then just get rid of it like that. I mean, that was the biggest shock for me this week. No, forget Gray waking up from his coma. He's not angry. Forget,
he's just disappointed.
The boxing match with Mick, or forget the discovery that Tina's body is the one under the Argy Budgy. Oh, no. DCI Arthur's had lost his beard.
It's DCI Arthur's beard.
I was out.
I sense a character. I sense a character in an upcoming game. Halfway's hat is a been and gone thing. DCI Arthur's beard. Enter stage left. Yes, but DCI Arthur and his shaven face come into the Vic this week to deliver the. Now, I will briefly and brush over how quickly did that get identified as Tina's body. How did that guy get identified as Tina's body? I don't know. It happened very, very quickly within the space of a few days. I don't know. Would they have handed? I genuinely am asking. Would they have handed over things?
Yeah.
DNA and.
Well, presumably,
all that kind of stuff?
I would say it was DNA because Tina has been arrested, hasn't she? So they would have her DNA on record. Yes. If you get arrested, you have a DNA swab given. So presumably, that's how they were able to then link it to Tuna. So they would have found DNA obviously there's DNA on the body. They then put it in their master system, a bit like the Bat computer from Batman. A piece of paper came out, and Adam West read it out and said, Tina Carter's face handed it over to DCI Arthur's, and then went over to the Carters to let them know. I mean, it was devastating, wasn't it? Absolutely devastating for Shirley this week. I mean, Linda Henry, let's put our hands up here. They very rarely give Linda Henry interesting and fun and exciting things to do. And then she's got this brilliant scene where she just broke into Mick's arms and Mick just had to stand there, teared up and just, oh my goodness, the passion. It felt like the actors had just been told that actually all these rumours on Walford Weekly that Tina hasn't died is all fake and that the actress isn't coming back anymore. It was genuine hurt there. And it was fantastic.
Yeah, Linda Henry was stunning with all this. I have to say, she's one of these characters that has been around for a fair few years, and you sort of she for me, Shirley's a bit like Phil in that she's been around just for ages, almost a bit like a furniture character that's always kind of there, just doing her job amazingly well at all times. But then occasionally, when she's given a big storyline like this, you forget how good she is. And how amazing a performance she can actually give when she's given the right material, And this week she knocked it out of the park. And I also say, I know Danny Dyer gets a bit of stick from people just because of how much Mick has featured ever since he arrived, and how kind of Mick heavy a lot of stories get. But do you know what? I realise this week I'm going to miss that guy when he goes. It's going to be a huge gap, a huge hole in the show when he disappears. Because he as well was brilliant this week. I thought his scenes with Shirley were just heartbreaking. And we've kind of this has always been coming. And like I said at the start, despite all the criticisms we've thrown at the Grey storyline, it does give us moments like this. The sort of realisation
which
that
aren't related to Grey necessarily.
Although, no, I know, but that's true. There was another little thing this week where it was like there was a conversation. I hate to just throw one final last hope into the equation because it feels very unlikely at this stage. But there was a thing that Tina's head is missing. Why would Tina's head be missing?
Yes.
What was that?
I don't know. I mean, it reminds me of do you remember an episode of Jonathan Creek when a woman got murdered and the head was missing? And it was the only part of the mystery that Jonathan Creek couldn't answer. And in the end, they just said, well, You know, because she was famous, I think, and they said, you know, it's just that some. If you haven't watched Jonathan Creek, but it's not a big spoiler. That basically fans are just, you know, they're a bit mad, and so and then you saw the guy on the plane, a fan of hers on the plane with her head in a box. So maybe there's just a fan of Tina's. Yeah. Maybe it's Tosh. Maybe Tosh found out, went into underneath the argy-bargy, took the head, put it in a box, and went off back to wherever Tosh is living right now. Who knows? Who knows? But I thought that was a really weird thing to kind of just throw into the mix. It's like, are we meant to believe that Gray has got the head?
Why would he have the head, though? Why would you do that?
Well, I don't know.
All the things that have gone wrong with Gray's with Gray, you know, I don't see why he would want to decapitate Tina and keep her head. Like, is that going to be one of the things next week? Like, Chelsea's just going to open discover a fridge in a basement, and Tina's head's just going to start staring back at her. Like, that's if there was any last hope that Tina is. Yeah, exactly. Like, if there was any last hope, and I think that is, you know, and I think we have both basically accepted that Tina's dead now. But if there was any last hope that Tina is still out there somewhere, that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a bit weird. Yes. So my question now is, funerals are coming up. Obviously, the Carter family, once upon a time, was a big old family unit. Are we going to get any kind of departed Carters turn up at the funeral, do you think? We've got Lee, we've got Johnny. Aunt Babe and Tina were very close as well. I can imagine if Aunt Babe showed up at the funeral. What do you reckon?
Has anyone told poor Aunt Babe?
Well, this is what I mean, and my question probably is: what do we reckon our excuses are going to be from departed characters that they couldn't make it?
I mean, I think Lee might turn up. You know, the actor's not very forthcoming to say he's going to be on the show. I don't think Johnny will, because I don't think they'd ever bring back Johnny 2, because no one wants that. Johnny 1, I don't think would bother. So other than a recast, if Johnny does come back, then, and he is recast, and that means we've got Johnny on the long term, so that might work quite nicely with the Nancy and Zack Queen Vic, my prediction.
Yeah.
We know from photographs that have been leaked that Linda does return, and she's out of her face.
Yes.
So that's obviously something that will come along too, because that's also something else that Mick had a burden on his shoulders this week, that he received the divorce papers, which led to him having quite a violent boxing match for the charity boxing night. So,
yes.
You know, he signed them as well. So I think that is officially it. I don't think there's any redemption anymore for Linda and Mick. This is it. This is no more. And lo and behold, someone's shoulder who Mick was able to cry on and the only person who Mick told outside of the immediate family, which very upset Shirley as well, was Janine. So showing that Janine and Mick are getting closer still. So, I mean, this is progress, isn't it? Janine didn't seem to manipulate the situation this time. So it feels to me that Mick is genuinely now kind of falling for Janine.
Well, I don't know about. Yeah, I mean, I do think that this is going to result in Janine and Mick sleeping together. I'll be honest with you. And in fairness, Mick is a single man now, so we couldn't even really kick off about it. You know, as much as we love Mick and Linda together, and as much as we still recognise they are supposed to be soulmates, there is nothing really stopping Mick and Janine from sleeping together, and Janine technically wouldn't be doing anything wrong. Presumably, when Linda does make a reappearance, all of the stuff that Janine did with taking the photograph and manipulating her into drinking, that's all going to come out. But yeah, I think Janine was genuinely heartbroken for Mick, and we got a few moments with Janine this week, you know, during the boxing match, when he was going up against Teddy. So I did like that moment, I have to say, when the names were being pulled out, and this weedy little kid was kind of like was deliberately pulled out because Janine had worked it so that the weedy little kid was the one that Mick was going to be fighting, and then the weedy little kid turned around and goes, "It's you, Dad!" And then this behemoth of a man stands up,
haystack,
and Mick's face visibly, I quite enjoyed that. But there was the moment during that boxing match where Janine was kind of like, "You're the most loveliest man I've ever met," and it felt from the very bottom of Janine's icy little heart, didn't it? So I mean, we knew that Janine was basically falling for Mick anyway. So, I think next week, as we've said all along, grief sex is a powerful thing. So I do think that Janine might finally get her way next week amongst all the chaos that's going to be happening. I think that's going to be one of the points on the map, I have to say.
So, but that means that Shirley and Mick are out to get revenge, and they're going to find out the person who did it. And Gray has just woken up from his coma. Not many people have seemed very happy about this news. One of them, especially being Chelsea, who, when visiting Gray, started to show a few cracks in the kind of manipulation that Gray had so successfully achieved up until that point. So he's running around kind of fixing that, but at the same time he's noticed the news that they found the body at the Argy Bargy. So we know next week is the undoing of Gray. But what do you think the progress of this is going to be? What do you think is it going to involve Chelsea heavily? Whitney going to be involved? Karat's going to return? What's going to happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a number of... This is what we've said. There is a huge amount of people that could be responsible for Gray's ultimate demise. And, with future cast leavings coming up, it does feel like the Carters may well be quite instrumental in that. Obviously, Kirat is still in the background, so stuff going on there. I have to say, Gray kind of looks as though he can almost see the ending approaching himself, because he's kind of like, how the hell do I fix this? His team's body's been found. Yeah. He had no idea of any of this that was going on while he was in this coma. He kind of came home and was instantly greeted with a newspaper saying that a body had been found in the Argy Bargy. And then he was finding out that the Vic was closed when it really shouldn't be. So he's kind of realising, oh dear. I thought that Shirley was going to work it all out quite quickly. I mean, obviously she's blinded by grief at the moment. But you have to wonder how long it's going to be before... Once the vodka kind of clears out of her system, which may take a couple of months with Shirley, knowing her. But it's... I
mean, is it ever out of her system?
You'd have thought that maybe a couple of... to be fair, it's part of her blood. She's got clear and red blood. Just Russian standard flowing through her veins. I do wonder how long it's going to be before Shirley kind of puts two and two together. Because Gray has been lying to her and the Carters massively throughout this whole thing with Tina. And there's got to be a point where Shirley's going to be like, wait, like we have for the past year, where we go, well, that doesn't really make sense, does it? Well, that doesn't make sense either. What's a silly story you've been telling me, Gray? So I think it is going to be Shirley that kind of works stuff out eventually. I'm assuming there's going to be something that we've forgotten about that will be said in front of Shirley, or something will happen that kind of makes the penny drop in Shirley's head, and then all hell will break loose.
Well, this is it, because Shirley went to visit DCI Arthurs at the police station. First of all, made the quip that there's CCTV over everywhere in London. Someone must have spotted anything. I literally went, ha! As she said that. Probably the one thing that was like, thank you.
They did that.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Thank you, Shirley. Yeah. Sense.
But they haven't said how long Tina's been dead for. So Shirley said to DCI Arthurs, talk to Gray. He said that he saw Tina on the bus a couple of months ago, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as she said that, his interest peaked again. And slowly, I think the cog started working. He said, I remember Whitney came and visited me and said, you really need to have a conversation with Gray. After then I told her to stop being a silly little woman. Off you go. Pop your pop. So I think that piece of information that Shirley's given him has finally clicked together, that maybe Gray has more involvement. Whether the police will venture forward with this, or whether it will be trial by the square, likely to be the latter, then I do not know. Because that's the thing. Is he going to die? This is the thing we're all kind of debating on.
Of course
is he going to get killed? Is he going to die? Or is he going to finally face justice? Yes. We've all said he should face justice, because then the whole point of the storyline is to show the people who have been in domestic violent relationships that there is a light at the end of that tunnel. And it isn't necessarily an iron around the head or something like that. There is more that you can do if you just go to the police and step up and talk about it. But I think this ending is only going to work with Gray being killed, sadly. So how is he going to die? How is he going to die?
Someone's going to murder him, aren't they? It's either going to be one of the Taylors or one of the Carters. but one of them, and we get the unfortunate kind of outcome from this is that we're going to have a new killer on the square, which, you know, is in soap is something that kind of too easily gets applied to characters for my liking. But I think it's if we start to just accept it now that it's coming, then it becomes less kind of difficult to swallow. I am tempted to say that it's going to, but then I can't help but think, are we supposed to think that? Is Friday's Duff Duff supposed to be leading us to the assumption that it's going to be one of the Carters, and then some other mad Simon Ashdown type twist is going to happen next week, where it all kind of goes all levels of crazy and something else happens? I mean, I honestly would be more surprised if, I mean, or maybe even Tina will return with her head and knock him out and then leave again. I would be more surprised if he gets arrested. That would be a bigger twist than Grey actually dying, in my view, because I'm genuinely convinced that there is no way that he can survive everything that he's done to so many different people. He has wrecked a lot of lives, hasn't he? He's wrecked the Taylors' lives completely.
Yes, our lives, one of them.
Lives completely. Our lives completely. We're suspects as well. Trust me. We've got the photos of me and Alex, like our promo photos, staring at the camera, kind of like evilly with our lead piping. Yeah, we're there. So yeah, there is a lot of people that would quite happily see Grey in the ground. I think. You know, Chelsea's there as well. Kira, the Panasars, because don't annoy the Panasars. That's never a clever thing to do, is it? Either. No. It's you know. It could be anybody, but I do think that Grey is going to die something horrible. I mean, how could it happen, though? Do you reckon they're going to try and sort of do one of those sort of little ribbon type things where they try and, like, is he going to get thrown on a dishwasher or something crazy? Like, some kind of household appliance is going to be the ultimate death of him.
I know. I'd rather they didn't do anything like that, to be honest with you. I think a good whodunit is if this is the way they're going to take it, would be a nice little way of doing it. A nice little summer story as well, don't you think? Because that could lead then to a nice ending in September to maybe the reveal. Yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence that we now know that Mick or Danny Dyer is leaving, which makes me lean toward that he will either take the blame or is the one who did it. That's the only theory I can come up with right now, because it just feels like very
it's a sort of noble thing Mick would do, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know that Keegan is leaving as well, Zack Morris, but I don't. Yeah. I think they love stretching this Grey story out. But as I said before, the Grey story works best when almost Grey's not involved with it. So I think it would be quite exciting if they were to stretch this kind of like whodunit a bit to it. And I think that Keegan's leaving, and especially when they've said that Tiff is returning for his departure, I don't think it's linked to that. So my odds, it's going to be Mick, but it feels a little too obvious it would be that. Enough. So then I wonder if he will take the hit that someone else did it and he will then take the blame for it. A bit like Bradley when he jumped off the roof of the Queen Vic. Stacey, run! So maybe that will be what will happen.
It is the sort... Yeah, sort of Zack throwing up in the corner. That is the sort of kind of noble thing that Mick would do, I think. I don't think Mick has quite got it in him to be a killer. Maybe Janine will just step forward. I'll sort that out, Mick. Bang! And then, just throw another one on top of Janine's list, which is what we predicted Janine was going to do when the moment she arrived. I bet Janine kills Grey. Yeah. And she's had no connection with him whatsoever. But I'd laugh a lot if Janine was the one that was ultimately did it, just to cement her little deal next to Mick in bed. I'll kill Grey. I've got this, guys. Don't worry. But yeah, I mean, how excited are you for next week, though? We've been, like I said at the start, we moaned about it for a year, but we finally have the big old climax coming next week. Do make sure you are there with us next week for our in-depth discussions as we recoil, I expect, from whatever ramifications Walford is going to go through when this mad story, this mad, crazy, insane story, one of the maddest stories in EastEnders history, finally comes to its epic conclusion next week.
Absolutely. But don't go just yet, because we also have some comments to read out. Actually, it's your predictions of what you believe is going to happen with the Grey story on I Ain't Want to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't want to gossip.
So I asked you on our Twitter, our Instagram and our Facebook group, all the details will be given to you at the end of the show by Rob, to get in touch with us with your theories of what you think is going to happen next week on the end of Grey week. And we had a few. From Facebook, Vicky Tucker said, he obviously knows the police know it's Tina, so I think he will try and do a runner with the kids. But when Chelsea finds out he's taken Jordan, she will go after him and there will be some big showdown, possibly with Denise or Whitney. Two people. Denise, didn't even think of Denise. And he will end up dead. I don't think the Carters or the Taylors will have anything to do with it, but might end up helping to cover it up. Then maybe Chelsea will change her story or find some evidence to clear Karat, as he can't see him being gone for long. What do you think about that? So Chelsea being the murderer.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. This is what I mean. This is the one nice thing that we've got out of this, is the fact that there's so many people that could ultimately be responsible, and they could still pull one completely out of left field and surprise us with something that we haven't foreseen. Yeah, I mean, it could be that. I think the fact that Kirat's on the run may turn out to be quite relevant, because it feels like there's one last showdown due between those two as well, doesn't it? Because Gray knows, because Kirat knows everything about Gray at this moment, and Whitney obviously knows. So I feel like there's one more showdown coming between Kirat and Gray, which would be quite interesting. But yeah, it's who knows. Good theory though, Vicky.
Who knows? Sinead on our Twitter has said, I think Gray will die, but from his head wound that he got in the fight with Karat. He'll have pushed himself too much and he'll have a bleeding brain or something. Now, see, I never thought of this. They did say when he was in hospital that he was leaving hospital a couple of weeks too early. And when he was walking around the square on Friday, he was kind of like very much like, oh gosh, he's still not quite recovered. So I wonder if it will just end up being that lots of people will kind of like have a go at him, but his ultimate demise will just be that fight he had with.
He just do a Pauline Fowler.
So technically, no one's fault. Technically.
Possibly. It's I mean, it was one of those sort of miraculous recoveries, wasn't it? Came out of a coma and was sort of out of hospital 2 days later. The good old Walford NHS, I tell you, there's nothing like it. You could go in there with your head cut off and you'd be absolutely fine a few days later.
I mean, we should say that the NHS is a brilliant institution in the UK. It's just the NHS in Walford. For some reason, they seem to have a real problem with hospital beds or even just care, to be perfectly honest. But, it's like the police in Walford.
There you go.
They just don't get as much funding as everyone else.
Leave the bed. Get out.
Adam on Twitter has said, I definitely think there will be a huge chase sequence as Gray tries to escape the police, and he will finally be arrested and will get his justice for Chantel, Tina and Kush. So a chase sequence, shenanigans, maybe a warehouse.
Well, actually, you might not have seen this. We have had confirmation that there is I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, because obviously it's the sort of story that's going to result in something like this. We have had an interview come out from, I think it's Rona McKendrick, I think we gave the interview, who's I think set designer or something like that. And she said that there is a big old sequence next week that they're going to use to show off the new set. They're going to go all over the square and so yes. So what we were saying a couple of weeks ago, where we was like, I hope they do some sort of, and I was going on about some clever thing that Corrie did where they were going, doing one shot. No, screw all that. This is EastEnders. They're going to do some sort of epic showdown thing that shows the whole of the new set off, deliberately to show off the new set, but fair play to them. It cost them enough, so why not use it? And so yeah, we are getting that apparently. So I look forward to that greatly. See what the new toy is going to be shown in all its glory next week apparently. So I look forward to that.
You're absolutely right, because not only is it Grey Week next week, but it's also the first week where we actually see the new set, because this week every single scene has been internal set. So this week, very exciting. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see the new set, especially when they can use the inside-outside sets they were showing when they were doing that little tour on the one show this week. And you can open the door; they don't have to do 2 different shots, so it saves money. See, all in the long one. But I just want to end one last message that was sent to us on Facebook from Stephen and his theory of who's going to whack Gray, and that is it's going to be Bobby. Perfect. I agree.
Why not? And briefly, one thing that we did forget to mention, with the Carter story. So Frankie's back this week. So Stephen's name reminded me of that because we know that our listener Stephen is a big old Frankie fan. So Frankie is back this week, which was lovely to see. There were some really nice scenes with Frankie. Could Frankie be the one that does it? We know that Frankie is prone to extreme levels of violence when she's annoyed. We've seen it happen, when she starts throwing glasses and stuff across clubs. We've seen it happen. So Frankie is as much a suspect as anybody else, in all fairness.
Throw her in the mix.
Yeah, but...
Throw her in the mix.
Throw her in the mix as well. But, I'm very, very, very excited. Do let us know during next week, which remember, from next week is the new EastEnders schedule. I kicked off all about that next week, but we're stuck with it now. From next week, Monday to Thursday, 7:30 every single night for the epic Grey conclusion. Please do let us know what you think of everything that's gone on in the Grey storyline. You can get in touch with us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. Email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. So, I'm very, very excited. I cannot wait for next week.
Yes, nor can I. And as you said, we've got some changes coming our way as well. Time to be confirmed, I must say.
Yes.
But from next week, our podcast will be released on a Saturday. So if you see our podcast pop into your inbox, it's us. Don't worry. It's not some kind of doppelganger, not some kind of fake. It's not fake Tina Skeleton. It's not none of that. It's us. It's genuinely us. We will be releasing the episode on a Saturday, likely afternoon, but I will confirm the details on our Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook. So the details Rob just gave you, just follow us on them and you'll find out exactly when that will be.
Yes, indeed. So, I can't wait. I know you can't wait either. Join us next week as we go through every single thing that this mad story, this climax, is going to throw at us. I cannot wait. Until then, see you on Saturday. It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Sinead.